Chapter 26. And when a famine came into the land after that barrenness which had happened in the days of Abraham, Isaac went to Abimelech king of the Palestines and Gerar. And the Lord appeared to him and said, Go not down into Egypt, but stay in the land that I shall tell thee, and sojourn in it, and I will be with thee, and will bless thee. For to thee and to thy seed I will give all these countries, to fulfill the oath which I swore to Abraham thy father. And I will multiply thy seed like the stars of heaven, and I will give to thy posterity all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Because Abraham obeyed my voice, and kept my precepts and commandments, and observed my ceremonies and laws. So Isaac abode in Gerar. And when he was asked by the men of that place concerning his wife, he answered, She is my sister. For he was afraid to confess that she was his wife, thinking lest perhaps they will kill him because of her beauty. And when very many days were past, and he abode there, Abimelech king of the Palestines, looking out through a window, saw him playing with Rebekah his wife. And calling for him, he said, It is evident she is thy wife. Why didst thou feign her to be thy sister? He answered, I fear lest I should die for her sake. And Abimelech said, Why hast thou deceived us? Some man of the people might have lain with thy wife, and thou hast brought upon us a great sin. And be commanded all the people, saying, He that shall touch this man's wife shall surely be put to death. And Isaac sowed in that land, and he found that some year 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. And the man was enriched, and he went on prospering and increasing, till he became exceedingly great. And he had possession of sheep and of herds, and very great family. Wherefore the Palestines, envying him, stopped up at the time all the wells that the servants of the father Abraham had digged, filling them up with earth. Insomuch that Abimelech himself said to Isaac, Depart from us, for thou art become much mightier than we. So he departed and came to the torrent of Gerar to dwell there. And he digged again other wells, which the servants of his father Abraham had digged, and which after his death the Palestines had of old stopped up. And he called them by the same names by which his father before had called them. And they digged in the torrent, and found living water. But there also the herdsmen of Gerar strove against the herdsmen of Isaac, saying, It is our water. Wherefore he called the name of the well on occasion of that which had happened calumny. And they dig also another, and for that they quarreled likewise, and he called the name of it enmity. Going forward from thence he dig another well, for which they contended not. Therefore he called the name thereof Latitude, saying, Now hath the Lord given us room, and made us to increase upon the earth. And he went up from that place to Bersabee, where the Lord appeared to him the same night, saying, I am the God of Abraham thy father. Do not fear, for I am with thee. I will bless thee, and multiply thy seed for the servant Abraham's sake. And he built there an altar, and called upon the name of the Lord, pitched his tent, and commanded his servants to dig a well. To which place when Abimelech and Ochazar, his friend, and Phicol, chief captain of his soldiers, came from Gerar, Isaac said to them, Why are ye come to me, a man who you hate, and have thrust out from you? And they answered, We saw that the Lord is with thee, and therefore we said, Let there be an oath between us, and let us make a covenant, that thou do us no harm, as we on our part have touched nothing of thine, nor have done anything to hurt thee, but with peace have sent thee away, increased with the blessing of the Lord. And he made them a feast. And after they had eaten and drunk, arising in the morning, they swore one to another. And Isaac sent them away peaceably to their own home. And behold, the same day the servants of Isaac came, telling him of a well, which they had digged, and saying, We have found water. Whereupon he called it Abundance, and the name of the city was called Bersabee, even to this day. And Esau, being 40 years old, married wives Judith, the daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon, of the same place, and they both offended the mind of Isaac and Rebekah. Chapter 27. Now Isaac was old, and his eyes were dim, and he could not see. And he called Esau his elder son, and said to him, My son. And he answered, Here I am. And his father said to him, Thou seest that I am old, and know not the day of my death. Take thy arms, thy quiver and bow, and go abroad. When thou hast taken something by hunting, make me savory meat thereof, as thou knowest I like, and bring it, that I may eat, and my soul may bless thee before I die. And when Rebekah had heard this, and he was gone into the field to fulfill his father's commandment, she said to her son Jacob, I heard thy father talking with Esau thy brother, and saying to him, Bring me of thy hunting, and make me meats that I may eat, and bless thee in the sight of the Lord before I die. Now therefore, my son, follow my counsel, and go thy way to the flock. Bring me 2 kids of the best, that I may make of them meat for thy father, such as he gladly eateth, which when thou hast brought in, and he had eaten, he may bless thee before he die. And he answered her, Thou knowest that Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am smooth. If my father shall feel me, and perceive it, I fear lest he will think I will have mocked him, and I shall bring upon me a great curse instead of a blessing. And his mother said to him, Upon me be this curse, my son. Only hear thou my voice, and go fetch me the things which I had said. He went and brought and gave them to his mother. She dressed meat such as she knew his father liked, and she put on him a very good garment of Esau, which she had at home with her. And the little skins of the kids she put about his hands, and covered the bare of his neck. And she gave him the savory meat, and delivered him bread that she had baked, which when he carried in, he said, My father. But he answered, I hear. Who art thou, my son? And Jacob said, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done as thou didst commanded me. Arise, sit, and eat of my venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac said to his son, How couldst thou find it so quickly, my son? He answered, It was the will of God that what I saw came quickly in my way. And Isaac said, Come hither, that I may feel thee, my son, and may prove whether thou be my son Esau or not. He came near to his father, and when he had felt him, Isaac said, The voice indeed is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he knew him not, because his hairy hands made him like to the elder. Then blessing him, he said, Art thou my son Esau? He answered, I am. Then he said, Bring me the meat of the hunting, my son, that my soul may bless thee. And when they were brought and he eaten, he offered him wine also, which after he had drunk, he said to him, Come near me, and give me a kiss, my son. He came near and kissed him, and immediately as he smelled the fragrant smell of his garments, blessing him, and said, Behold, the smell of my son is the smell of a plentiful field, which the Lord hath blessed. God giveth thee the dew of heaven, and of the fatness of the earth abundance of corn and wine. And let people serve thee, and tribes worship thee. Be thou Lord of thy brethren, and let thy mother's children bow down before thee. Cursed be that curseth thee, and let him that blesseth thee be filled with blessings. Isaac had scarce ended his words, when Jacob, being now gone out of abroad, Esau came, and brought in to his father meats, made of what he had taken in hunting, saying, Arise, my father, and eat of thy son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac said to him, Why, who art thou? He answered, I am thy firstborn son Esau. Isaac was struck with fear and astonished exceedingly, and wondering beyond what can be believed, said, Who is he then that even now brought me venison that he had taken? And I ate of all before thou camest, and I have blessed him, and he shall be blessed. Esau, having heard his father's words, roared out with a great cry, and being in a great consternation said, Bless me also, my father. And he said, Thy brother came deceitfully and got thy blessing. But he said again, Rightly is his name called Jacob, for he had supplanted me, lo, this second time. My first birthright he took away before, and now this second time he has stolen away my blessing. And again he said to his father, Hast thou not reserved me also a blessing? Isaac said, I have appointed him thy Lord, and have made all his brethren his servants. I have established him with corn and wine, and after this, what shall I do for thee, my son? And Esau said to him, Hast thou only one blessing, father? I beseech thee, bless me also. And when he wept with a loud cry, Isaac being moved said to him, In the fat of the earth, and in the dew of heaven from above, shall thy blessing be. Thou shalt live by the sword, and shalt serve thy brother. And the time shall come when thou shalt shake off and loose his yoke from thy neck. Esau therefore always hated Jacob for the blessing wherewith his father had blessed him. And he said in his heart, The days will come of the mourning of my father, and I will kill my brother Jacob. These things were told to Rebekah. She sent and called Jacob her son, and said to him, Behold, Esau thy brother threatened to kill thee. Now, therefore, my son, hear my voice. Arise and flee to Laban, my brother, to Haran. And thou shalt dwell with him a few days, till the wrath of thy brother be assuaged, and his indignation cease, and he forget the things thou hast done to him. Afterwards I will send and bring thee from thence hither. Why shall I be deprived of both my sons in one day? And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life, because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife of the stock of this land, I choose not to live. Chapter 28. And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him, and charged him, saying, Take not a wife of the stock of Canaan, but go and take a journey to Mesopotamia of Syria, to the house of Bethuel thy mother's father, and take thee a wife thence of the daughters of Laban thy uncle. And God Almighty bless thee, and make thee to increase and multiply thee, that thou mayest be a multitude of people, and give the blessings of Abraham to thee, and to thy seed after thee, that thou mayest possess the land of thy sojourn, which he promised to thy grandfather. And when Isaac had sent him away, he took his journey, and went to Mesopotamia of Syria, to Laban the son of Bethuel the Syrian, brother to Rebekah his mother. And Esau, seeing that his father had blessed Jacob, and had sent him into Mesopotamia of Syria, to marry a wife thence, and that after the blessing he charged him, saying, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan, and that Jacob, obeying his parents, was gone into Syria, experiencing also that his father was not well pleased with the daughters of Canaan. He went to Ishmael and took to wife. Besides them he had before Mahaleth, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebajoth. But Jacob, being departed from Beersheba, went on to Haran. And when he was come to a certain place, and would rest in it after sunset, he took of the stones that lay there, and putting under his head, slept in the same place. And he saw in his sleep a ladder standing upon the earth, and the top thereof touching heaven, the angels also of God ascending and descending by it. And the Lord leaning upon the ladder, saying to him, I am the Lord God of Abraham thy father, and the God of Isaac. The land wherein thou sleepest I will give to thee and to thy seed, and thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth. Thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thy seed all the tribes of the earth shall be blessed. And I will be thy keeper whithersoever thou goest, and will bring thee back into this land. Neither will I leave thee till I shall have accomplished all that I have said. And when Jacob awake out of sleep, he said, Indeed the Lord is this place, and I knew it not. And trembling he said, How terrible is this place! This is no other but the house of God, and the gate of heaven. And Jacob, arising in the morning, took the stone which he had laid under his head, and set it up for a title, pouring oil upon the top of it. And he called the name of the city Bethel, which before was called Luzah. And he made a vow, saying, If God shall be with me, and shall keep me in the way by which I walk, and shall give me bread to eat, and raiment to put on, and I shall return prosperously to my father's house, the Lord shall be my God. And this stone which I have set up for a title shall be called the house of God. And of all things that thou shalt give to me, I will offer tithe to thee. Chapter 29. Then Jacob went on his journey, and came into the east country. And he saw a well in the field, and 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For the beasts were watered out of it, and the mouth thereof was closed with a great stone. And the custom was, when all the sheep were gathered together, to roll away the stone, and after the sheep were watered, to put it on the mouth of the well again. And he said to the shepherds, Brethren, whence are you? They answered, Of Haran. And he asked them, saying, Know you Laban, the son of Nahor? They said, We know him. He said, Is he in health? He is in health, say they. And behold, Rachel his daughter cometh with his flock. And Jacob said, There is yet much day remaining, neither is it time to bring the flocks into the folds again. First give the sheep drink, and so lead them back to feed. They answered, We cannot, till all the cattle be gathered together, and we remove the stone from the well's mouth, that we may water the flocks. They were yet speaking, and behold, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she fed the flock. And when Jacob saw her, he knew her to be his cousin's German, and that they were the sheep of Laban his uncle. He removed the stone wherewith the well was closed, and having watered the flock, he kissed her, and lifting up his voice wept. And he told her that he was her father's brother, and the son of Rebekah. But she went in haste and told her father, who, when he heard that Jacob his sister's son was come, ran forth to meet him, and embracing him and heartily kissing him, brought him into his house. And when he had heard the causes of his journey, he answered, Thou art my bone and my flesh. And after the days of 1 month were expired, he said to him, Because thou art my brother, shalt thou serve me without wages. Tell me what wages thou wilt have. Now he had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the younger was called Rachel. But Leah was blear-eyed, Rachel was favored, and of a beautiful countenance. And Jacob, being in love with her, said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. Laban answered, It is better that I give her to thee than to another man. Stay with me. So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed but a few days, because of the greatness of his love. And he said to Laban, Give me my wife, for now that time is fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. And he, having invited a great number of his friends to the feast, made the marriage. And at night he brought in Leah, his daughter, to him, giving his daughter a handmaid named Selpha. Now when Jacob had gone in to her according to custom, when morning was come, he saw it was Leah. And he said to his father-in-law, What is it that thou didst mean to do? Did not I serve thee for Rachel? Why hast thou deceived me? Laban answered, It is not the custom in this place to give the younger in marriage first. Make up the week of days of this match, and I will give thee her also, for the service that thou shalt render me other 7 years. He yielded to his pleasure, and after this week was past, he married Rachel, to whom her father gave Bala for her servant. And having at length obtained the marriage he wished for, he preferred the love of the latter before the former, and served with him other 7 years. And the Lord, seeing that he despised Leah, opened her womb, but her sister remained barren, and she conceived and bore a son. And he called his name Reuben, saying, The Lord saw my affliction, now my husband will love me. And again she conceived and bore a son, and said, Because the Lord heard that I was despised, he had given this also to me. And she called his name Simeon. And she conceived the 3rd time, and bore another son, and said, Now also my husband will be joined to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. And therefore she called his name Levi. The 4th time she conceived, and bare a son, and said, Now will I praise the Lord. And for this she called him Judah, and she left bearing. Chapter 30. And Rachel, seeing herself without children, envied her sister, and said to her husband, Give me children, otherwise I shall die. And Jacob, being angry with her, answered, Am I as God, who hath deprived thee of the fruit of thy womb? But she said, I have here my servant Bala. Go in unto her, that she may bear upon my knees, and I may have children by her. And she gave him Bala in marriage, who, when her husband had gone in unto her, conceived and bore a son. And Rachel said, The Lord had judged for me, and had heard my voice, giving me a son. And therefore she called his name Dan. And again Bala conceived and bore another, for whom Rachel said, God hath compared me with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called him Naphtali. Leah, perceiving that she had left of bearing, gave Zilpah her handmaid to her husband. And when she had conceived and brought forth a son, she said, Happily, and therefore called his name Gad. Zilpah also bore another, and Leah said, This is for my happiness, for women will call me blessed. Therefore she called him Asher. And Reuben, going out in the time of the wheat harvest into the field, found mandrakes, which he brought to his mother Leah. And Rachel said, Give me part of thy son's mandrakes. She answered, Dost thou think it is a small matter that thou hast taken my husband from me, unless thou take also my son's mandrakes? Rachel said, He shall sleep with thee this night for thy son's mandrake. And when Jacob returned at even from the field, Leah went out to meet him and said, Thou shalt come in unto me, because I have hired thee for my son's mandrakes. And he slept with her that night. And God heard her prayers, and she conceived and bore the 5th son. And she said, God hath given me a reward, because I gave my handmaid to my husband. And she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again and bore the 6th son, and said, God hath endowed me with a good dowry. This turn also my husband will be with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And therefore she called his name Zabulon, after whom she bore a daughter named Dinah. The Lord also, remembering Rachel, heard her, and opened her womb. And she conceived and bore a son, saying, God hath taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, saying, The Lord give me also another son. And when Joseph was born, Jacob said to his father-in-law, Send me away, that I may return into my country and to my land. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, that I may depart. Thou knowest the service that I have rendered thee. Laban said to him, Let me find favor in thy sight. I have learned by my experience that God hath blessed me for thy sake. Appoint thy wages which I shall give thee. Thou knowest how I have served thee, and how great thy possession hath been in my hands. Thou hadst but little before I came to thee, and now thou art become rich, and the Lord hath blessed thee at my coming. It is reasonable, therefore, that I shall now provide also for my own house. And Laban said, What shall I give thee? But he said, I require nothing, but if thou wilt do what I demand, I will feed and keep thy sheep again. Go round through all thy flocks, and separate all the sheep of diverse colors, and speckled, and all that is brown and spotted, and of diverse colors, as well among the sheep as among the goats, shall be my wages. And my justice shall answer for me tomorrow before thee, when the time of the bargain shall come. And all that is not of diverse colors, and spotted and brown, as well among the sheep as among the goats, shall accuse me of theft. And Laban said, I like well what thou demandest. And he separated the same day the she-goats and the sheep, and the he-goats and the rams of diverse colors and spotted, and all the flock of one color, that is, of white and black fleece, he delivered into the hands of his sons. And he set the space of 3 days, journeying between him and his son-in-law, who fed the rest of his flock. And Jacob took green rods of poplar, and of almond, and of plane trees, and peeled them in part. So when the bark was taken off, in the parts that were peeled, there appeared witnesses, but the parts that were whole remained green, and by this means the color was diverse. And he put them into the troughs where the water was poured out, that when the flock should come to drink, they may have the rods before their eyes, and in the sight of them might conceive. And it came to pass, in the very heat of coition, the sheep beheld the rods, and brought forth spotted and of diverse colors, and speckled. And Jacob separated the flock, and put the rods in the troughs before the eyes of the rams. And all of the white and the black were Laban's, and the rest were Jacob's, when the flocks were separated one from the other. So when the ewes went first to ram, Jacob put the rods in the troughs of water before the eyes of the rams and of the ewes, and that they might conceive while they were looking upon them. But when the latter coming was, and the last conceiving, he did not put them. And those that were late ward became Laban's, and they of the first time Jacob's. And the man was enriched exceedingly, and he had many flocks, maidservants, and manservants, camels, and asses. Chapter 31. But after that he heard the words of the sons of Laban, saying, Jacob hath taken away all that was our father's, and being enriched by his substance is become great. And perceiving also that Laban's countenance was not towards him, as yesterday and the other day, especially the Lord saying to him, Return it to the land of thy fathers and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee. He sent and called Rachel and Leah into the field, where he fed the flocks, and said to them, I see your father's countenance is not towards me as yesterday and the other day, but the God of my father hath been with me. And you know that I have served your father to the uttermost of my power. Yea, your father also hath overreached me, and hath changed my wages 10 times, and yet God hath not suffered him to hurt me. If at any time he said, The speckle shall be thy wages, all the sheep brought forth speckle. But when he said on the contrary, Thou shalt take all the white ones for thy wages, all the flocks brought forth white ones. And God had taken your father's substance and given it to me. For after that time came of the ewes conceiving, I lifted up my eyes, and saw in my sleep that the males which sleep upon the females were of diverse colors, and spotted and speckled. And the angel of God said to me in my sleep, Jacob. And I answered, Here I am. And he said, Lift up thy eyes, and see that all the males sleeping upon the females are of diverse colors, spotted and speckled. For I have seen all that Laban had done to thee. I am the God of Bethel, where thou didst anoint the stone, and make a vow to me. Now therefore arise, and go out of this land, and return to thy native country. And Rachel and Leah answered, Have we anything left among the goods and the inheritance of our father's house? He had not counted us as strangers, and sold us, and eaten up the price of us. But God had taken our father's riches, and delivered them to us, and to our children. Wherefore do all the good hath commanded thee. Then Jacob rose up, and having set his children and wives upon camels, went his way. And he took all his substance and flocks, and whatsoever he had gotten in Mesopotamia, and went forward to Isaac his father to the land of Canaan. At that time Laban was gone to shear his sheep, and Rachel stole away his father's idols. And Jacob would not confess to his father-in-law that he was flying away. And when he was gone together with all that belonged to him, and having passed the river, was going towards Mount Gilead, it was told Laban on the 3rd day that Jacob fled, and he took his brethren with him, and pursued after him 7 days, and overtook him in the Mount of Gilead. And he saw in a dream God saying to him, Take heed, thou speak not anything harshly against Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mountain. Brethren had overtaken him. He pitched his tent in the same Mount of Gilead. And he said to Jacob, Why hast thou done this, to carry away without my knowledge my daughters as captives taken with the sword? Why wast thou run away privately, and not acquaint me, that I might have brought thee on the way with joy, and with songs, and with timbrels, and with harps? Thou hast not suffered me to kiss my sons and daughters. Thou hast done foolishly, and now indeed it is in my power to return thee evil. But the God of your father said to me yesterday, Take heed thou speak not anything harshly against Jacob. Suppose thou didst desire to go to thy friends, and hadst a longing after thy father's house. Why hast thou stolen away my gods? Jacob answered, That I departed unknown to thee. It was for fear lest thou wouldest take it away thy daughters by force. But whereas thou chargest me with theft, with whomsoever thou shalt find thy gods, let him be slain before our brethren. Search, and if thou find any of thy things with me, take them away. Now when he said this, he knew not that Rachel had stolen the idols. So Laban went into the tent of Jacob and of Leah, and of both the handmaids, and found them not. And when he was entered into Rachel's tent, she in haste hid the idols under the camel's furniture, and sat upon them. And when he had searched all the tent and found nothing, she said, Let not my lord be angry that I cannot rise up before thee, because it is now happened to me, according to the custom of women. So his careful search was in vain. And Jacob being angry said in a chiding manner, For what fault of mine, and for what offense on my part hast thou so hotly pursued me, and searched all my household stuff? What hast thou found of all that substance of thy house? Lay it here before my brethren and thy brethren, and let them judge between me and thee. And have I therefore been with thee 20 years? Thy ewes and goats were not barren, the rams of thy flocks I did not eat. Neither did I shew thee that which the beast had torn. I made good all the damage. Whatsoever was lost by death, thou did exact it of me. Day and night was I parched with heat and with frost, and sleep departed from my eyes. And in this manner have I served thee in thy house 20 years, 14 for thy daughters, and 6 for thy flocks. Thou hast changed also my wages 10 times. Unless the God of my father Abraham and the fear of Isaac has stood by me, peradventure now thou hast sent me away naked. God beheld my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked thee yesterday. Laban answered, The daughters are mine, and the children in thy flocks, and all things that thou seest are mine. What can I do to my children and grandchildren? Come therefore, let us enter into a league, that it may be for a testimony between me and thee. And Jacob took a stone and set it up for a title. And he said to his brethren, Bring higher stones, that they gathering stones together made a heap, and they ate upon it. And Laban called it the witness heap, and Jacob the hillock of testimony, each of them according to the propriety of his language. And Laban said, This heap shall be a witness between me and thee this day. And therefore the name thereof was called Galaad, that is, the witness heap. The Lord behold and judge between us when we shall be gone one from the other. If thou afflict my daughters, and if thou bring in other wives over them, none is witness of our speech but God, who is present and beholdeth. And he said again to Jacob, Behold, this heap, and the stone which I have set up between me and thee, shall be a witness. This heap I say, and the stone be they for a testimony. If either I shall pass beyond it going towards thee, or thou shalt pass beyond it thinking harm to me. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us. And Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. And after he had offered sacrifices in the mountain, he called his brethren to eat bread. And when they had eaten, they lodged there. But Laban arose in the night, and kissed his sons and daughters, and blessed them, and returned to his place.